Hey everybody, welcome back to Discover SPRINGFORD. This is sort of a part 2 of our first episode. Today we're going to be meeting with Joe Moskal, who's the owner and operator of Royersford Fence Company and Royersford Tomato Company. I'm Geoff, a local realtor, aspiring actor, and transplant to the SPRINGFORD area. And I'm on a mission to find the best that SPRINGFORD has to offer. I'll be interviewing local business owners, civil servants, and other prominent members of the community to find out what makes SPRINGFORD a great place to live, work, eat, and explore. I invite you to join me on my journey as I discover SPRINGFORD. Upon my arrival, I hopped in the gator with Joe, and he took me on a short tour along the railroad tracks to Main Street in Linfield to one of the smaller lots of Royersford Tomato Company.
Mike commissioned us to build the fence from Royersford Fence Company and start a vegetable garden. And when we started that, it was like, oh my goodness, look at all these tomatoes. To think that was overwhelming at one point was, you know, something else. And now it's considered a small lot.
This one is the Sacco one, is the small lot?
Yeah, the Sacco is the small lot. So we'll head up there now. This railroad actually connects Pink Moose Cafe.
Yeah.
The railroad tracks in Royersford.
Oh, it's the same one?
So when you hear the train below, it's only going to be about 2 minutes, if that, till it gets back to Royersford.
Wow.
Either way, you can hear them both coming.
Yeah, from where I live, I hear it in the middle of the night or midday, you hear it coming.
So this is actually Main Street then that we're connecting with.
Okay.
And this will run all the way through to Pottstown, Reading, Norfolk Southern Line, I believe. And at one point, our second year, the bridge was closed.
Oh, really?
So it was like a ghost town down here because this is the big thing from, you know, Linfield, Wawa to 724. So when the bridge down here closed, there was no reason for anybody to go down here unless you live.
Yeah.
So right here to the left is our first location, and on Main and Sacco Road.
Joe, welcome to Discover SPRINGFORD. So
Thanks,
glad to have
Geoff.
you on the show.
Thank you.
Last episode, we had Mike McCluskey from the Railroad Street Bar and Grill, who is a partner of Joe in Royersford Tomato and Vegetable Company. Mm-hmm. Mike shared a little bit about how they became partners, and Joe can kind of fill in his side of the story. So, Joe, why don't you let the viewers, for those of them that don't know who you are, just give them a little bit of your backstory, your superhero origin story, essentially.
Okay. I don't know about superhero, Geoff, but I grew up in Lower Pottsgrove till about second grade, and then moved to Audubon, which was in Montgomery County area, and from there went to Acton High School, where we found our home, with my wife Brandy and our 5 kids in Royersford, right on 5th Avenue. So she found her dream house. We moved here. And started 2 businesses, Royersford Tomato Company, as well as Royersford Fence Company. So it really took off from there. But as far as the tomato company, we teamed up back here, with Mike from the Railroad Street Bar and Grill, the owner. We had gone into his place. We had learned of the railroad, as you just did. And my wife was saying, we got to go there, we got to go there, we got to go there. So we went there, and I was impressed, as most people are when they go. And I said, we started a garden, and I was like, well, you can come buy some tomatoes, I think at first he didn't like me. He didn't want to buy tomatoes. Persistence does pay off, and it's living proof, because I did bother him for about a month in a small growing season that we have. And he did come by one weekend while we were, in fact, building a fence. And Brandy said, the guy from the railroad's here, the guy from the railroad's here. I was like, well, what does he want? Give him, what does he want? Well, he wants to buy everything. So that's what Mike did. Mike bought everything. And we set up small deliveries. The following year, he drove me up here in the snow. It was a staked out lot that he said he had bought and wanted to commission our fence company to build the fence and farm for the summer. So this was the beginning of Royersford Tomato and Vegetable coming out of my home, 317 North 5th Avenue. And as you can see, we did the fence, we started the garden, and currently it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So we moved things further down the road and across from Railroad Street.
So this is Main Street and Saco.
Saco, yep.
Saco Road
Yeah.
in Linfield,
Right.
where we're sitting right now. We lucked out. It's a beautiful day. And you can see behind us, we got the proud emblems of both Railroad Street Bar and Grill and Royersford Tomo, as it's affectionately called. And that is the website if you want to find out more, royersfordtomo.com. So what made you decide to, aside from just having a home garden, decide to actually take the leap and start to sell? Because that's, a lot of people have hobbies, but then when you want to make that hobby a little bit something more.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, when, vacation was a thing that we actually did. I mean, now if you step away for, 1 or 2 days, you have an Amazon forest, in the 1,000 plants that we have. We actually went on vacation from our home garden when we first moved here, and we came back to, as many people know, you come back, your grass is long, your vegetables, a watch pot doesn't boil. So as soon as you step away from that garden, it just went nuts. So my wife and I said, let me try to put some of these out on the sidewalk. And I put a little table and maybe 10 tomatoes, and before I came back out, they were all gone. I put some price tags on them. So right there was just an opportunity where I was like, okay, so we had a big rototiller and just rototilled more and more, excuse me.
That's okay.
More and more
It's the real
gardens.
deal here.
More and more gardens at home. And then said, we went from that little table to, before we met Mike, a picnic table, just like this. And then now we have a canopy with multiple tables and are picking hundreds of pounds of tomatoes every day.
That's incredible. So your main base of operations is still out of your home. Aside from, I'm sure you do a lot of B2B, business to business kind of, supply.
Yeah, I mean, we keep it, Jeff. We keep it really small. A lot of people want bushels of tomatoes, or restaurants will contact us. Well, we want this. So I mean, we're really selective on, who we deal with and when. It's such a small season. The allegiance always has been to the Railroad Street Bar and Grill. We also work with Your Mom's Place in Phoenixville. The Billy Rudder over there is doing some specials with our tomatoes, as well as the Sidecar Bar and Grill in Philadelphia, and Brian Loafing as the executive chef. So a lot of that stuff's been on our tomato page. So I mean, we're certainly not knocking on restaurants' doors to get them cases of tomatoes, because what I'm sure you've seen, and everybody at home, when you get a tomato on your BLT or whatever sandwich you want to call it, or in your omelet, it's a slicer. Restaurants want slicing hard white tomatoes, and we're just not going to do that.
Right.
So, and neither does the railroad.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed when I was eating from the great menu at the railroad. The tomato was soft. I mean, it was the way it was supposed to be. And I've gone to, you go to fast food places, and it's just like, it's like iceberg lettuce essentially, but in red color. It has no flavor. It's really hard to bite into. It's just that green center throughout the entire tomato. So that's just very impressive that you guys have been able to do so much with such a little space, and then to expand to this point. It's just a cool thing. And again, like, this is just so everybody understands, Joe's running 2 businesses, and those aren't his full-time job. So he is a teacher. You teach in the Norristown School District, or Methacton?
I'm in the Norristown Area School District. Yeah, I did first grade for a number of years, and I think I'm going on year 12, 13, and moving to 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
So I did 1st, 3rd, 4th, and
I have a special place in my heart for school teachers, because that's what my wife is.
Yeah.
So she taught 6th grade for the first 5 years that we were married. Took time off when we had our kids, and now she's the preschool director at Calvary Baptist in Lansdale.
Nice.
So we just recently moved to Royersford, right around the corner from Joe, actually. So I get to, as I try to work off the calories I consumed at the Railroad Street and go for walks along Main Street in Royersford, I walk past the canopy and see the tomatoes, and I'll have to make sure that I pick some up for sure once we get in the habit of actually cooking food again after our move. So how about before you got into what people would consider entrepreneurial world, being self-employed, was being a school teacher your primary drive from the time you graduated college, or did you always kind of have a desire to have your own business?
I'd say after high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. It was, even for anybody out there now, it's overwhelming just to become that, to land a public school job, to be accepted into a district and have the benefit of being a teacher in Pennsylvania. But after doing that, and we just had gotten married, you got this job, and just seeing endless opportunities of things I just couldn't turn down, and things that just kind of, I wouldn't say were put on my lap, but there's opportunities everywhere, and I just took advantage of what I believe to be every opportunity to fill my plate, because it's full, and it's I'll sleep when I'm dead, I guess, but you just got to consider how much sleep you really need. But once I was going through with that, I saw that teaching kids in school about tomatoes, not only tomatoes, about just growing, and that there's something magical with my own kids, my 5 kids that I have, and showing them that this little seed can become a plant, the plant that becomes a fruit, and a fruit or vegetable that you eat. I've seen not only the light bulb go off, but kids love gardening. A lot of what we do is not farm to table, it's family to table, it's down the street to table. My own kids eat this stuff, or organic, practices in the way we do things.
I would imagine having that close-knit connection is also what allows the quality to continually be consistent.
Absolutely.
Like Mike had talked about, the quality and being able to put his meat and his vegetables and everything that he brings in up against anybody. Yeah. Because
any day,
ultimately your children are eating the food that you're growing. So I think, in our society, what ends up happening is the further the disconnect, that's when corners start to get cut and all that kind of stuff. The fact that it's right there.
Yeah, and it's basically a giant family garden. I mean, in no way is anybody making a mint off of this garden, or buying another house with this garden. This is truly a love that I have for gardening and developing relationships, within what we consider the SPRINGFORD area. So I mean, we've partnered with, all kinds of companies and things like that, like Farmer Ned at 2 Particular Acres. We were doing things with him as well. So I mean, the opportunities, if you ask, I mean, did I just like Mike was talking about with the restaurant, if you told me that I would have this, be responsible for this, and this is how I would spend my summers off, I would have told you were crazy. I would have said no. And when we first built this, and we're out here sweating, did we think that somebody like you would even have an interest to come and sit here and video us and spotlight, our 2 businesses? No. I would say, 724, that bridge over there was closed. This was like a cul-de-sac. Nobody came down here unless you lived here, and it was like, what did we do? Yeah. But as you can see, I mean, the traffic now, and it's become a household name, Royersford Tomato and Vegetable Company, and the railroad.
Yeah, that's excellent. So obviously a busy guy. On top of all those things, I mean, you're doing the Royersford Fence Company, which is that primarily a summer occupation as well? Or
no,
how do you run these businesses? Obviously, businesses can't shut down for 9 months out of the year while you're a school teacher. So how are you? No. I guess work-life balance is something you'll worry about later. Or
I don't know
the fact
if
that
it's
your
much
family's involved is probably very good that your kids are involved, so you get to do it with
the
them.
kids aren't particularly thrilled about picking tomatoes. But they help, and they get paid as well for picking and setting up baskets out front. And in the fencing, the tomatoes we start in March from seed, and really no one cares about tomatoes until June, July, August. Everybody goes back. So I mean, it's a very quick snap of time, and you have to really embrace it, because by the time you turn around, everything's gone, and I'm back to school, and Mike's here by himself, him and Johnny, picking and doing whatever. But in terms of the fence company, I run that with my best friend and my partner, Brian Carpinez. He actually used to live in Royersford, but just moved out to Gilbertsville. And, you know, between him and I, you know, the business is run essentially out of my truck, my dining room table, my house, my notepad.
Yeah.
You know, him and I going back and forth, and that's a full-time operation. You know, I'm doing estimates before school, go to school, estimates after school. We're doing repairs after school, you know, during, and then Saturday and Sunday is fence time.
Yeah.
Luckily, we can get a lot done on Saturday, but you know, for the most part, we're fencing after school, and then Saturday and Sunday.
That's incredible. Definitely something to to be thinking about when you're considering where you're going to be buying your vegetables and tomatoes is the hard work and love and care, and for, as he said, for no other reason than for a love of doing it. I mean, because nobody, like you said, nobody's going to be putting their kids through college selling tomatoes, unless they're going to be
not 5 kids anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 2, and I have no idea.
We'll figure it out. It'll be okay.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I think it's teaching something that we've kind of lost a little bit is your kids being able to see the literally from seed to table. You know, that's that there's something that school can't teach, even though you are a teacher.
Right.
But those tangible life lessons, I think we're going to carry with them, and I'm hopeful. Same for my children.
Yeah.
My son likes to draw, and he decided to he wanted to sell his comic books, which are like 2 pages of pencil and on white paper. So I was like, all right, well, here's how much it costs to make copies at the copy shop. This is what you're going to charge for him, and he's all gung ho about it. So you know,
think twice about buying that pack of gum at Wawa.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Or that extra latte that's $5.
Gotcha.
Put your money to better use by supporting the local people here in Springford. It's very important. Before we go, I don't want to neglect to mention yet another hat that you wear, which is your involvement in the Royersford Borough Council.
Oh, yeah.
So I would be remiss, especially with some of the future guests that I have lined up, to not mention the Royersford Borough Council. And tell
Neil
me a little
Dom's
bit
coming
about
next.
that. Yeah, right. Yeah, stay tuned for Neil Dom. He'll be in the next episode. He's the president of the Borough Council. So,
him and
so
Matt.
what is your primary role, and how much of that involvement it takes up your time there?
I was sworn in. I was asked, to come and, see if, I would like to be a borough council member. It was something that, we interviewed for, see if it would be a good match for everybody. And, it's been a wonderful opportunity after being accepted. I think maybe in March, February or March, when I was sworn in, but to see from there to now and how hard Borough Council is working, to make Royersford an even better place, because it's a diamond in the rough. It's not even an opinion, it's the next thing to happen. Everything else around us is overcrowded or too far away. Royersford has so much potential, and the decisions that we make for police officers, public works, park and rec, the things that are going on are all to benefit not only myself, but the other taxpayers in Royersford, and try to keep everybody happy, not being heavy on one side or heavy on the other side. For kids, older folks, younger folks, kids with kids, kids without kids. And again, everybody wants to say, well, Joe, how do you guys make these decisions? I say, listen, we all live in the borough. We have to live in the borough. We're not presidents or anything like that of the United States or what have you. I mean, we're elected officials that are making decisions. I'm a taxpayer too. So it's really cool to see how, our current borough council is working to approve really good things that are going to be happening and are currently happening in the Royersford Borough. And it's just been a hat, if you will, that I've put on and have experienced nothing like it, in my life. It's not like business. It's not like family. It's not like friendships. It's borough council. It's a political position. And you have to make a lot of tough calls to be fiscally responsible, as well as, keep everybody happy and let everyone know that, everyone on that borough council through vote has the best intentions of not only themselves as they live in the borough, but everybody else collectively in the community. So currently, the guys and girls that I'm serving with, I think we're doing a lot of good things, and there's a lot to come in not only Springford, but Royersford specifically.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. And I think, not to get political, but I think the fact that we have real working people making those decisions is really important. Right. You don't have career borough councilmen, I don't think.
Right, no.
It doesn't pay enough to support families and businesses and things like. But I think it's people who are literally grassroots, to borrow a pun from tomato growing, to be the best people to position themselves to serve the community. And that's what you're doing, and I appreciate it too. Especially as a new resident to the area, I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. Hopefully, we got in on the ground floor, so
we're
I'm excited to see what's coming up next. So, as we wrap up, let the people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can find out more about the fence company, tomato company.
Well, I guess we have a lot of followers on our Facebook page. It's Royersford Tomato and Vegetable Company. You'll have a direct link if you go through www.rofotomo.com. In terms of fencing, you can go to our Facebook page, see some of the current work that we do, customer reviews, and always contact us. Our phone number is 610-564-1142. We provide free estimates, small repairs, big jobs, anything. I mean, we've done things for Oler Brothers, Nelson's Ice Cream, Brewed Awakening, as well as things as in the Royersford Borough. So we'd like to help you out. And the tomatoes are at 317 North 5th Avenue. And if they're not there, they'll be at the Railroad Street Bar and Grill.
Sounds good. Yeah, you can actually go by, see the fence work and the tomatoes all in one shot, because I'm sure that the beautiful fence around your house was provided by none other than Royersford Fence Company. So I will be getting in touch with you actually, because we have an old chain link fence that needs to be put to death, and so eventually, maybe come tax return season, I'll be getting in touch with you guys. But definitely encourage you guys, support the local grown organic vegetables, fruit. Because technically tomatoes are fruit, right? Yeah, I have to be careful about that. Or not. My school teacher wife would not approve if I said vegetable only, and neither would this guy across from me. So get in touch with them, follow along what they're doing. I'll make sure all the links are below the video in the YouTube and Facebook so that you can always get in touch with them. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And if you are a business owner, civil servant, prominent member of the community, and you'd like to be featured on Discover Springford, I encourage you to reach out to me, info@discoverspringford.com. You can also subscribe to the channel, tv.discoverspringford.com. So, Joe, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Geoff.
Let's see where we go from here. All right? That's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for watching. I encourage you to share the show on your social media platforms. If you'd like to support the show, I'll try to do this without messing up my microphone. You can buy one of these shirts. It says I Heart Rofo on it. I also have one for Spring City that says 150 years strong, as Spring City is celebrating their 150th anniversary this year. I really am thankful for those of you that have watched. Hopefully the show will continue to grow and improve, and I appreciate your feedback. Until next time, subscribe at tv.discoverspringford.com, join the community at discoverspringford.com, and I'll see you on the next episode of Discover Springford.